Morning, all. We just have the two games tonight, and they're both early games, so we're in the break. If your team's not on the board, they're on break. They've either already started their break a few days ago or they started it today. So in tonight's action, we see Winnipeg in against Columbus. Now I'm wearing a Jets jersey because it's a back-to-back, and I figured, you know what, I'll wear Jets. Now Winnipeg's kind of fallen on hard times and at the absolute worst time of year for them to do so as they head into the break. They're 25, 21, and 4 over their last 10. They're 3, 6, and 1. That's troubling. And they're 14, 10, and 2 on the road, but they are better on the road than they are at home mostly. Last night wasn't a promising night for them, though. Now, Columbus, they're 26, 16, and 8. They're 8 and 2 in their last 10. They're 15, 9, and 2 at home. So all the numbers would tell you Columbus should win. I'm going with Winnipeg, wearing the Jets jersey and all, but the numbers would definitely indicate this should be a victory for Columbus, back-to-backs and all that, and Laurent Brossoit in net. Now, with scoring, I went with Scheifele, 23 goals, 31 assists, 54 points. He is their... I still think, and I mean, I'm wearing a Scheifele jersey because he's my favorite member of the Jets, but I still think he's the best player on the team overall and all around. Line 17 goals, 28 assists. He did have a goal in the most recent game, and we'll see whether or not he can, get things going. But he has to have help. Pionk, 4 goals, 27 assists. Roslovic, 9 goals, 10 assists. And Boteto, I have on the board with 4 assists because he needs a goal. He hasn't had a goal in a while. It's been quite a while for Anthony Boteto. Hellebuck, 21, 16, and 4 with a 917 save percentage. Contrary to some Jets fans, I'm not sure. Now, I know, like, I'm tired of Connor Hellebuck. I'm not understanding. He's the only reason they were winning games at certain points in the season. So to be upset with him now and he's not playing very well now, it's just kind of short-sighted in my opinion. Brossoit's 4 and 5 with an 885 save percentage. I still think they're overplaying Hellebuck. Brossoit needs a big game today to show he can play some more. On the Columbus side of things, Dubois, 15 goals and 20 assists, is their leading scorer. Jones, 4 goals, 22 assists. Bjorkstrand, 14 goals and 11 assists. We'll see if he can continue what he got started in his first game back. Bemstrom, 5 goals and 8 assists. He's one of those rookies that we're not really talking about. And Gavrikov, 4 goals and 7 assists for him. Overall, solid start to the season for him and solid start to his career. Now, in goal, I would expect Merzlikins. They haven't announced it technically yet. He's 8, 6, and 4 with a 928 save percentage. Kivleniks has 1 win in his only appearance, 969 save percentage. Yeah, I think he's fine. Now, on the Detroit side of things, Detroit and Minnesota start at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific. And, of course, Detroit is in the midst of a pretty poor season, and it's been a long time since Detroit had a season quite this bad. They're 12, 34, and 4 overall. They're 3, 6, and 1 in their last 10, so same record as Winnipeg over their last 10. On the road, they're 4, 18, and 2, which is not anything like anybody else's road record in the league. Now, on the Minnesota front, they're 22, 21, and 6. They're also 3, 6, and 1 in their last 10. So there's a giant ouch going on in the Central Division when it comes to Minnesota and Winnipeg. And at home, they're 13, 6, and 4. So their home record was fantastic. Tonight's a good chance for Minnesota to pick things up. I thought about wearing a Minnesota jersey. I did for their last one, but this is really kind of a gimme. If they don't win this game, that says a lot more than if they do. Now, scorers for Detroit: Larkin, 13 goals, 22 assists. Fabry in 33 games with Detroit, 10 goals, 13 assists, 23 points. Madison Bowie has 3 goals and 11 assists on the blue line. Zadina in 25 games now has 6 goals and 7 assists for 13 points. Perlini stands out here as a guy with 25 games played and a whole 2 assists to show for it, which is not anything like what any of us had expected when he first came into the NHL, and it's a really low number. And I do wonder with Perlini what happens with him. Like, is he just going to go to the American League? He's one of those guys who looks like, when you look at the trajectory of his career, probably ends up playing in a European League and probably has a good life out of it. Howard is probably going to be the starter tonight. His record I feel bad for Jimmy Howard. It's 218-2 with an 883 save percentage. I know. I know Howard hasn't had a good season in parts, but you know what? He really hasn't been their problem since Bernier went down. And I feel bad for him because the team in front of him just doesn't have the ability to bail him out at all. Pickard's 0-2 with a 797 save percentage, so I would be very surprised if he ends up playing. On the Minnesota side of things, Stahl, 16 goals, 20 assists, 36 points. He's the leading scorer for Minnesota. Parise, 19 goals, 12 assists, 31 points. He's played very well lately. Zuccarello, 12 goals, 14 assists. I think it's safe to say Zuccarello's point totals have been disappointing in his first year in Minnesota. Spurgeon, 5 goals, 16 assists. And Eriksson Ek, 4 goals, 17 assists. He does show at points in time that he is developing into that player that we thought he'd be. In net, it's Dubnyk that's going to start tonight, so Stalock will be the backup. Stalock's 11-8-3 with a 903 save percentage. Dubnyk's 8-12-2 with an 891 save percentage. It has been a rough year for Dubnyk, and for Minnesota in general. They've got to figure this out. They've got to figure out what they're going to do going forward. Now, I wanted to look at the standings today, and we'll take a look where guys are going into the playoff chase and race and all that. Now, Columbus, currently at 60 points. They're above the playoff line because while they're tied in points with Philadelphia, they do have the tiebreaker on them currently. Boston's number one in the Atlantic with 70 points. They're 8 points clear of Tampa at the break. They're 9 points clear of Florida. Florida's got within 1 point of Tampa now. The Capitals, 71 points. The Penguins with 67 are only 4 points back of Washington. And the Islanders with 63 are 4 points back of Pittsburgh, 8 points back of the Capitals. And there's Carolina with 61, right above Columbus with 60, and Philadelphia with 60. Of course, below the playoff line, below Philadelphia, Toronto Maple Leafs with 57 points. So they are currently 4 points back of Florida. They officially have to catch a wild card team right now in order to get a playoff spot because third spot is higher up. The Sabres, 51 points. They're 9 points out of the playoffs, as are the Montreal Canadiens. The Rangers are now 10 points out. So, yes, it is perfectly safe now to say Kreider likely gets traded at the deadline. I would say 80% chance of that, 90%. Ottawa Senators are 18 points out. The New Jersey Devils are 19 points out. And it's a tidy 32 points between the Detroit Red Wings and the playoffs. If they doubled their point total, they still wouldn't be in the playoffs. Now, in the West, 68 points for St. Louis leads the West. Colorado, 62 points. Dallas with 58. Vancouver leads the Pacific with 58. And I know there's a lot of people in the East saying, it's stupid Pacific Division, it sucks. Yeah, it takes 57 points to get into the playoffs in the West. It takes 60 in the East. This is not news. Last year, the Colorado Avalanche made the playoffs ahead of the Montreal Canadiens, and we know how that turned out. So this is just how things work. The only way that you get to a system where one plays 16, two plays 15, and all that is a balanced schedule. The schedule has to be fair. Everybody has to play each other an equal number of times, or 1 versus 16 doesn't make any sense. So as much as I understand the dislike people have right now towards the Pacific Division, the fact is they've got 5 teams in the playoffs, as do the Metro. The Central has 3, and the Atlantic currently has 3. As you see right here, the next 4 teams below the playoff line are Winnipeg with 54, Chicago 54, Nashville 51, and Minnesota with 50. So that's 4 Central Division teams having down years, and as a result, well, Chicago's not having a down year, but those are 4 teams playing below the playoff line, and 3 of them are ones that we may have expected a little bit more from. Minnesota, maybe not, but in Nashville and Winnipeg's case, definitely. So it's a down year so far for the Central. But if Nashville goes on a nice winning streak, we're a long ways out from the playoffs. So the complaining about the playoff seedings and all that stuff, it can wait, right? We don't have to have that complaining now, right? We can save that till the end of the year when a team makes the playoffs that doesn't belong there. And then as soon as game 1 of the playoffs is played, that's where it all disappears. I actually did, during my history series, not this past summer, but the year before, I noticed the number of times that teams would make the playoffs that didn't belong in there, and teams that should have been in the playoffs missed. And history just remembers that certain teams missed the playoffs and certain teams made it. So is it fair? Probably not. But is it the fairest system that we can come up with? Highly likely. And when people say, well, we should have 1 versus 8, well, okay, but in the East, you'd still have Philadelphia below the playoff line. And in the West, you would still have these 8 teams in the playoffs. So it does change the seedings, but it doesn't make enough of a difference that it means that you're not going to see teams miss the playoffs that you feel should because they had more points than another. And again, trying to measure strength of schedule and all that, it's fun, it's great, but again, we have the best system that I think we can have, and we'll see what happens with the next collective bargaining agreement. I don't think they change it. I think the playoff system as we have it right now, I think that'll stay. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.